Hi, welcome. Now I am going to show you how to create class intervals as well as the frequency distribution for any type of data. Okay, so what I have here is that students, and it's a student of 100 students, and their respective marks here. Okay, the marks of each student. Okay, now my objective is to get the frequency for the marks. Okay, so the class interval of marks is 1 to 10, 11 to 20. It is the width is 10, and so I have about 10 class intervals, and each interval I want the frequency of students whose marks lie between 1 and 10, or lie between the lower and upper bound of this class interval. Okay, that is my objective. So since it's the frequency of students for how many students marks lie between 1 and 10, 11 and 20, so on. So if I add all this frequency, it has to give me overall number of students, which is 100 in this case. Okay, and the marks lie between from 1 to 10. Assume that there is no marks in 0, as well as the marks cannot go beyond the 100. Okay, so for this, what I can do is I can do the class intervals using 4 methods. Okay, one is I'm going to use the function frequency. The other one is I'm going to use and show you how to use sum product function to achieve the same result, and other one is the COUNTIFS function to achieve the same result, and also finally the use pivot table to get the same class intervals and the frequencies. Okay, so probably what I can do is I will show you first the pivot tables method, so that when we start working on these functions, we can also cross check the values. Okay, so how to do the pivot tables method? Before that, what I will do, we keep on going to use marks set. So I just name the marks set by name manager here instead, or we can just select all the marks and go right click and go there. You can define name, put marks. Since the header is marks, it itself is giving marks, so just press. So this range is marks. We no need to refer it as B2 to something like that, B2 colon to B101, something like that. So we no need to do as a range, we can just put marks. Okay, so now we are going to insert a pivot table. For that, what I'm going to do, you just select A and B columns, go to insert pivot table. Okay, we already selected the full data here, the table range, selected table range. So what I am going to do, I just to go and put the pivot table on the same sheet for us to easily compare the information. So existing worksheet, I'm going to put it in existing worksheet, and where I want to put it, I want to put it in the location I1. Okay, this part, and click OK. Once you click OK, the pivot table is coming here, and you get pivot table tables to be fields to be selected. Okay, what are the fields available? You got 2 fields, which is student and marks, and the rows must be marks because our class intervals based on marks. So you just put marks in rows, and since you put you can show, it shows all the marks available and count of students and each mark. Okay, so I put marks in rows, and summation values is count of student. Okay, just close this one. This one gives us the individual marks and number of students or number of frequency of that marks in terms of students. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we need to, our objective is not individual marks, to make it as a class interval. How to make it as a class interval? Go there in the row label. Before that you make it as marks, and this one is pivot okay, frequency. Okay, so now you just select this part, select this one. You can have a small down arrow. By that you can select the whole field, then right click, go there, group. In the group it will say from 9, because the minimum marks the list got is 9, but we want it from 1 onwards. So just put starting at 1, ending at 100, because we already put the maximum is 100, and by 10. So the class interval with is 10. So press OK. You can see here it already given us the class interval from 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, and so on. Okay, for this what you need to do is you just filter this one, the blank or less than 1. We don't have less than 1. Okay, so this is the pivot frequency is 1, 2, 8, 13, 13, 13, 10. So there are only one mark in between 1 and 10. There are 2 marks. 2 students scored between 11 and 20. 8 students scored between 21 and 30. Okay, is so on. So now we got pivot frequencies. Similarly, we are going to do the same frequencies by frequency and sum product and COUNTIFs. Okay, so how to do it using frequency? Okay, frequency has frequency is it's a array formula or array function, and it needs the array to be sent inside. So it is frequency. You have data array. Data array is nothing but the marks, and a bin array. Bin is you need to say which bin, which class interval. Okay, so this bin array is not exactly the lesser lower bound and upper bound. Bin array is you consider it as the only the upper bounds. You specify the upper bounds. Okay, so how it works? If give bin array in the first array element is for example I give bin array is like this. Okay, what is the bin array of this? Only the upper bounds, 30 and so on, upper bound of the class interval. Okay, so in the first, when you give 10 in the first element, it says all those 10 and lesser than 10. That will become the first class interval. Okay, 20 is all those lesser than or equal to 20, but greater than the upper bound of previous array element. Okay, so in the way it will also have 11 to 20. Okay, so these marks are integer. Our problem is assumption of this problem is all our marks are integers. If you have fractional, you must do it according to that. Okay, 30, it is 21 to 30. Okay, it takes the previous mark value, previous bin, and greater than that to the given upper bound. This way it will get the class intervals. So for simplicity, you will safely assume that it is all the upper bounds for this example. Okay, so and also the frequency function is the array function, so it is going to come up with a set of outputs, not one single output. So for this case, it is going to give answer for all the class intervals. So you select all the class intervals. Since it's a array function, you just put equal to, now type frequency. Data array is nothing but we already done mocks, and bin array is this array, all upper bounds array, and close the bracket. Now since it's array formula, we are entering the array formula. It is going to come up with a set of outputs. What we are going to do is we are going to type not just the enter, we must type shift control enter. Now you see it come up with the sequence of output, which is nothing but the frequency, which is also same as which is given by the pivot frequency. Okay, so this is the way you can use the frequency formula to come up with the frequencies. Okay, if you are not understanding any of these 4 methods which are explained in this video, because this video is summary of all 4 methods, I already put for every method I put one single video just before this video, so you can see there I give more elaborate explanation there to how to use every method. Okay, so kindly look into those method and those videos, you will understand properly if you are not unable to understand here. Okay, now sum product method. How to use the sum product method? Okay, I will type the formula first, then I will explain to you. Okay, the sum product formula, this has two logical conditions on the array mocks, and which is lower bound check and the upper bound check. Okay, so the lower bound check, it checks the array and gets all the, for every mock it get to true or false, whether it satisfies the lower bound or not. Okay, and this double unary is just converting that lower bound to that array to 0 and 1s. So if satisfy this condition, then then if it satisfies the condition, then the true will have 1. Okay, and if it is not satisfying, then it will be false. So for the whole set of mocks, it will check for whether it is greater than 1. So all those having greater than 1 will be, the condition will be true, and double unary is changing that true to 1, the number 1, because we cannot work with the true or false here. Okay, similarly this one less than, the upper bound also checks the marks less than or equal to 10 also come up with the true or false set. Okay, with this set again you apply double unary, it is also converted to 0 and 1. So it is a set of zeros and ones, and this is also set of 0 and 1s. These two arrays or 0 and 1s, if both of them are 1, only when both the conditions are satisfied. If one of the condition is not satisfied, either it is not satisfying the lower bound or the upper bound condition, it is going to be 0. So when you do the product, if it is not satisfied, it is going to be 0. If it is satisfied, both of them were 1. If it is 1, both of them are 1, the product become 1. So when you sum it up, it will give you only those students satisfying this condition, and that sum is going to be the frequency of students belonging to this class interval. Okay, if you are not understanding this when I explain now, you can just go to my earlier video and watch it. Every single step I put it in column wise, and I explain to you how it is converting to 0 and 1s and so on. Okay, just enter 1. Okay, now the same thing, just change the lower bound and upper bound now, then you will get for every class interval. Okay, now you see all of them are giving the frequency for each class interval using the sum product function, and it is also exactly same as the other methods. Okay, so finally we'll go for COUNTIF function. COUNTIF function is very straightforward. We are going to check lower bound or upper bound on the marks set. Okay, how to do it I will show you now. Equal to COUNTIFs. You are going to check the lower bound first, which is on criteria ranges. The range is marks, and the criteria is greater than or equal to the lower bound, which is 1. Just no 1. Come on, again the criteria range is, again we need to check it on marks itself. And the criteria range is upper bound check, which is less than or equal to 10. Close the bracket, enter. You got it for class interval 1 to 10. Just you are checking lower bound and upper bound. If these two criteria are satisfied, you want to count it. Okay, enter. Similarly you need to do it for all the class intervals. Okay, I will change it for all the class intervals now. Okay, now you can see the COUNTIF function also gives the same set of frequencies. So we already finished frequency by frequency function, sum product function, and COUNTIFs and pivot frequency, and all of them are same. Okay, so this is the 4 methods I wanted to show to you how we can arrive the frequencies for class intervals.